pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a quorum. Public comments, please.
You got a few. My name is Robert Bogue, citizen of the United States of America, veteran of the United States Army, resident of Edgar County. I thought I would start by giving some handouts here to board members. Maybe not cover all this in depth, but I wanted to say that our country is $20 trillion in debt, doesn't have a balanced budget, no real way of paying that bill off, if it ever is, and that kind of a debt isn't good for a country to have, and that it undermines the security of our nation. Illinois has the same problem. It has a debt it can't pay, does not have a balanced budget, and the consequences of irresponsible fiscal spending are things that our children and grandchildren will have to deal with. You know, at federal government point of view, we're now at 105% of our GDP. I wanted to say that our state and federal governments have just about spent themselves and ourselves into oblivion. We need money in Edgar County for lots of things. We have a jail that's fallen apart, should be replaced. We just bought a school that's very expensive and it's raised the real estate taxes. We have a need, or at least a desire by some, to raise taxes again, 1% I think. We have law enforcement issues because of our local drug culture. And now we have an airport project that we really don't need. It's a want project, it's not a need project. Our country's financially bankrupt, our state's bankrupt, our county owes hundreds of thousands of dollars. You folks are looking at throwing some money at an airport project that is not a need, it is simply a want. We only have about 6 Edgar County residents with airplanes at the airport that they fly. We have lots of other people there, but in terms of our own, the people that are Edgar County residents, there's only about 6 people involved with the airport. And when you look at the situation, the present situation of a zoning for funding for a project, the only reason we're talking about zoning is to fund the airport, to access this $1.28 million that we really don't need to spend. We ought to be focusing our energies on zoning the county to protect ourselves from the power companies, utility lines that we now have, and cell towers, and wind turbine farms, all the issues around us, and even livestock confinement operations that can get out of hand. In other words, the present zoning action only protects the financial interests of the FAA and the state and the federal government. It is not intended to protect the Edgar County residents and interests, land values and their interests. I oppose the spot zoning. I think zoning the few people around an airport just so we can access federal dollars for projects we don't need. I don't think we should do that. You know, a lot of the residents don't know and understand that we're already spending $150,000 a year at the airport, and that they have within their budget the money to buy the credit card machine and make fuel 24/7, and that's what we ought to do. We ought to spend the less than $20,000 to meet the needs because of our financial conditions. We ought to save the additional $40,000 that this county would have to come up for this project we don't need. We ought to save the residents of Illinois another $60,000 in money that they don't have. It's all borrowed money. So that's pretty much it. The airport has a history of people doing bad things and spending money they don't have. I don't want to see the federal government borrow more money for something we don't need, and I don't want to see the state borrow money to match funds for something we don't need, and I don't think this county needs to spend $60,000 to solve a $20,000 project or need. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more?
Yeah, quick one, do you know when the draft zoning ordinance is gonna be published and when the hearing's gonna be?
We're gonna find out, I was gonna report to the board that Derek has a meeting with the state's attorney. It's all dependent on the state's attorney. He's gonna have a meeting with him on Wednesday afternoon to find out how we're gonna proceed and what time frame. Okay? And we're still committed. I've checked with our clerk and with Ross, and we're gonna be able to put it online. We're gonna ask for, and you can send in comments or give them however you wish. We're not gonna have a back and forth on the system, okay? That's just not practical.
They promised to have another hearing.
We have not determined whether there's gonna be another hearing yet.
Well, that commission at that meeting said we will have another hearing.
The attorney will decide whether there's gonna be another one. If there's no, from what I understand, from talking to the state and to our state's attorney, if there's nothing materially changed in what was presented, then all the board will have to do is pass it. Okay?
Well, the commission has not said one way or another about making any recommendation. And they told
We
the
will-
public they would have another hearing and they would publish it 14 days in advance.
If it's necessary, and I said that.
They never
But they
said
didn't
that.
say that.
The commission never said, I'm just.
It is up
okay.
to the state's attorney. We're not gonna have a
The state's
debate.
attorney's not part of the commission, but I just
He
want
is
to
the
get that.
one that's gonna issue the opinion.
Well, he's not the commission member, there's two commission members, he don't decide either way, he writes what the commission tells him to write.
That's fine.
Okay.
Anyway, to answer your question, we should know within a few days where we're at.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Moving on. Andy?
I contacted everybody and asked about whether they thought it was a good idea to put the condensate pans and underneath the present air handling units at the courthouse, and they're in the process of doing that. They've got the pans, they're gonna start working on that. In that process, they're gonna remove they're gonna put in called condensate pumps, do away with a lot of the drain lines that drain the air conditioning units that are in the top of the courthouse. Just by nature, that's where a lot of the problems have come in, so hopefully this, by putting these pumps and pans under the units, we won't have the catastrophes like we had above probation, above state's attorney's office, so. And then they're going to, at the same time, once they remove those drain lines, they're gonna move the AC lines, which will allow them to come in and put the ceiling back in state's attorney, or probation, then we'll be back to square one on that. Other than that, I don't have a lot more.
Mr. Bruner?
No, I don't have much. Tomorrow voting on the members for the health department.
Yes.
And we decided to do it in a staggered term, so, which is a good idea. So that
Yes.
comes up for a vote. Animal shelter, stopped out there, everything's fine. We do have more dogs than we normally have. And since I work in the hospital, we did have an animal bite come in, it was a cat. I don't think we do much with cat bites, but they are very bad.
Oh, they can
It was
be.
swollen up out like that, so. So I don't think we do anything with cat bites. Other than that, no problem.
Alan, do you have anything on insurance or anything else?
No, I really don't have anything on that. I mean, our county health basically kicks in November 1, property casualty December 1. I just thought that's December 1, though. So that's about the only thing, and I think Augie and his crew are working on getting information assembled for a property casualty, those sheets and stuff like that. So they did a really good job getting all the information assimilated for them. I'm guessing you're gonna talk a little bit about finance, or not, okay. That's another question I had.
We can all kind of wish together if
Yeah,
you want.
no, that's good, I just,
All right.
that sounds good.
All right, from my standpoint, Derek and I went to the annual airport deal over at the Division of Aeronautics on Friday, where you talk about not just the project that's in the waiting, but maintenance projects in the future that they participate with. And so Derek will go over those with you probably on Wednesday, but it's the same old sheet that we update and set priorities from fencing to maintenance of runways and maintenance of taxiways and all that. So we had that meeting. As far as I was going to say, and we kind of already discussed it, we talked about the zoning, and like I said, he's going to have a meeting with the state's attorney and with Rob on Wednesday, and they'll determine what course they need to take. And obviously, we're going to take a course that is, you know, the best for everybody, but which will share information. And I don't look for it, you know, I'm not the one making the decision, as was pointed out. If we need to have another public hearing, which we probably do, we will have one. But the state's attorney has to have some things that changed and attached and so forth. So he's going through that process and should have that completed. And then we'll be able to get it online and go from there. As far as finances, we're still looking fairly decent for the end of the year for fiscal year 16. There should be a surplus. I'm not sure how much yet. It just depends on what types of things come in as far as revenue and what hits, how much money you spend.
You as in us.
I'm trying.
You as in us.
Yes, that's right. At any rate, now, as far as the budget that we're in the process of finishing up, that will be passed twice in the month of November, the floor is open.
I was gonna ask you about this the other day, you know, there's something on this, if I'm looking at this right, we're on property tax, why that would be so low at this time of
You've
year?
got 242,000, $400 coming in, which will bring it up to 781.
So that's still, that is.
It'll be
coming.
this Friday.
Okay. All right.
And then
And I thought, well,
after
how could you do
tax,
that?
after we do the tax sale and everything else, it's gonna come up about another 18,000. It should be right at 800,000.
Okay, and that's what I thought based on what was predicted last year, and it wouldn't vary that much if we're getting, you know, our 96 or 98%. And so
We
that
actually-
is the other
yeah.
part that just hasn't kicked in.
Right, and Don does basically two or three distributions, and then a little one after the taxes,
Okay.
after the
I
property.
didn't know if he was saving us for all the, after everybody else was paid, so he's gonna pay the county last.
For
or
example,
if that was it.
IMRF will pick up 187,000 on
Right,
Friday
all the-
report, 105,
Right.
and Social Security will pick up 87,000, but he'll tell you about that on tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Now, I have made a change in the budget to reflect $10,000 additional in expenditures for maintenance, okay? We still have to decide whether we're gonna give an across-the-board increase on top of what we've already talked about. That's still on the table. Some do, some don't.
Haven't heard
Some,
anything on social security for next year, have you heard anything on the cost of living?
no.
No.
I have not.
Not that ours has to be tied to
Oh,
that,
yes, I
but
think I did.
I haven't heard anything.
It wasn't very,
Well, it hasn't been anything for 2 years, so.
so,
Another question on
I think you
sheriff
got
overtime.
1% last year, didn't you?
Got nothing.
I think you had 1%, 2 years ago. you had
1.7, 2 years ago.
Oh,
Nothing
I
last
had to
year.
turn around.
Yeah, I spent that already. Sheriff overtime, I noticed it's
it's
still,
just, yeah, it's just out of control.
yeah, I thought we kind of solved that, but I guess we
We
didn't.
have,
No, it
to a
could be
certain, of
worse.
course, we
Could
were,
be worse.
yeah, it's, I haven't had a chance, I just got this
I just looked at
at 8:30, so I haven't had a chance to really dissect it. But you gotta remember, we were already, when we had the
That's what I was
agreement,
gonna ask.
it was already blown
That's what I
30
thought.
grand when we
So
talked
actually it's been
about it.
better.
So it has slowed,
Okay.
but if you look at the end of the budget, you can still count on, you know, right now, there's 940 spent, or 941, and the budget's basically 1.028, and they're gonna spend probably at least another 50 to 60, let's see, almost 100 grand on payroll between now and the end of the year.
It'll be over budget. quite a
It's
bit.
gonna be over budget, and then whatever other items that they spend, so we're gonna be over in that area, okay? Also, the first, I think 19 or 20 out of the 42 HSA payments went out electronically today. And as guys and gals get their
$100.
stuff in, so that we can get up their accounts straightened out, we'll get them in on a weekly basis and get that done. Is there any other questions about the budget at this point that we're?
If you figure the sheriff's total budget, not seriously bad, is it?
Oh,
Right. That's
No,
what-
not for having like that, but
right, and
Right.
what
we just
he's
had to
done.
spend a lot of other revenues.
Right, and
Has not
that's
spent.
what he is trying to, and
Right.
if you look at the administrative budget, I think he's what, 59% of the
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
versus 80-some percent on
Right.
every, I mean, and that's, you know, there are,
He's trying.
right,
Right, he's
absolutely.
definitely trying.
And, you know, we've got the agreements to fall back on, and so, I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Right.
Oh,
And we have other
That would've
areas.
been, I think, if we hadn't
Right.
helped. I mean,
Right. But you seriously, what Pam and Don are coming up with is to take a look at how the increases in health insurance have affected everybody in take-home. And we'll have a little bit better idea how everybody's fared that way, so that we can make an intelligent decision about whether we want to take, what did I say, the $60-some hundred for 1% and 13,000 for 2%.
Yeah.
And realizing that that's gonna be subtracted off our pay down, but it's one of those things.
Right.
We still working on Crichton building, doing something with it, or?
Yes, so we did
Looked
have
pretty nice,
the,
they did clean it up pretty good.
Yes.
I noticed.
we did have the appraiser in, it's been a couple weeks ago. He said he'd have it to us fairly shortly,
Okay.
then I'll get it to the board, and then we can proceed from there and show everybody that we're serious about it.
I was like, Dan, I did appreciate myself too,
Yeah.
the way the inside has been, somebody
Cleaned
put
up.
some time in it.
Right.
Yes, they did.
And the whole building,
Yeah.
because we went through the whole building
Yeah.
with the appraiser, and it was much better.
Right.
And Dina got in, said she got rid of
Right,
a lot of stuff.
right, and she was calling the state to find out what else she could get rid of, so.
Right. I still think that we need to talk to the sheriff about maybe having a sheriff's sale out there
Right.
and
There's
do
a
it
lot of stuff.
obviously the right way. The other thing you should be aware of is that the airport got a new not a new one, but a good used one with not very many hours, a zero,
ZTR
No.
more.
Right.
Okay.
and it's working real well. And this week, they're also gonna have a tractor brought out to see how that works. And so we're looking at leasing a tractor for the next 5 years. Okay? Yes, sir.
I noticed there's stuff in that shed, that barn that you don't use, like little Dodge truck. Why don't you just sell it too?
Absolutely, that needs, and the
It's been
old,
there for years.
what is that old thing? Yeah, there's an
Snow
old,
plow,
yeah.
the old snow plow, the old
Yeah.
vehicles.
Sell it, even if you get scrapped by
Yeah.
it.
Right, I mean, and we just need to get something done with some of this stuff everywhere. Well,
No,
we
that's
need
true.
to do it the
That
right
Dodge
way.
is a military, probably four-wheel drive too, somebody might, want that for hunting or something. If the engine's in it.
No, I have. So, at any rate, I take it that nobody has any drastic problems with the budget, at least at this point. We've been fairly conservative on income. I think the department heads and elected officials done a good job developing their budget. We'll plow forward with it.
I still think we should give some type of raise to employees.
And we need, and I was hoping we could discuss it more, but we're missing, Derek had a,
Right,
you know, we need to get everybody
Right.
together.
I agree.
I mean, we need to make sure they're at the meeting when we're discussing it.
Right.
Everybody deserves to have
Well,
a,
I kinda wanted to see how the insurance thing was gonna shake out.
Right.
As far as what's that gonna cost us, what we got left,
right,
so.
yeah. So, we're all plugged in there. So at any rate, I think it was helpful that we've got 42 people out of the 3 agencies now that are on HSAs, and that we need to head that direction totally, maybe have at least one PPO, and look at how we could benefit the drug program a little better, and that sounds terrible, I mean,
Right.
Prescription
prescription drug program,
drug, yeah.
and look at how that
And,
could,
and as they start to build that HSA, that should even take care of a little bit of that, because you know, you can use that money to pay for prescriptions,
Mm,
Right.
Right.
and
well, and what they don't
Yeah.
understand, we tried to explain, and I'm not knocking it, because
Right.
it's hard to
It's new, it's different
to
for one
remove
thing.
a safety net when you're used to it.
Right.
But if you go with the HSA, once and we're helping them to $1,200,
Right.
okay? Covering that first 2,500, everything after that, drug-wise, is paid.
Right.
There's no deductible, there's no
Right.
copay, there's nothing. And I mean, but we need to work at that.
and
To
that'll be a
help
part
get
of
them over
everybody
that
just trying
bridge.
to
and
Right.
stuff, man.
Right,
That's a
just didn't
possibility.
understand, because it's all new, I remember when
Right,
we did
and I mean-
cafeteria plan, when we did health savings accounts, it just takes.
What's,
Well, they can work on changing their drugs from, you know, the tiers, like tier 1,
Right.
tier 2, tier 3, drop down where you get generic and don't pay as much. I mean, that's a possibility. You don't always have to take those name brand
Right.
drugs.
Well, at any rate, there's a lot of possibilities there, and I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think, what we need to make sure is that you know, there was some increases that were fairly substantial. And obviously, we've stepped in to give some of it back, but we
I
need
think,
to,
I think we gave a lot, quite
Yes,
honestly.
so too.
Everybody, just like you're saying, everybody has different opinions, but I hope that the employees at least appreciate that. That's a healthy chunk. For
And
those
I mean-
people that, if they decide to take HSA, and that's kind of what we were hoping for them to do. I mean, let's face it.
even a couple of the union members that didn't agree to it,
Right.
which would have allowed us to get rid of that.
As long as
That's
they, as
$1,200
long as they have
bucks.
communication explaining how that affects them, some people understand that they think, the cash in the pocket's what they look at and not really the other things.
And I can't blame them,
I can't
drugs,
either.
prescription drugs can scare the heck out of you.
No,
I mean, and what they
especially if you're on
cost,
some of those big
Right.
expensive ones.
right.
I mean, it's something that we have to respect, and we have to try to solve that problem.
And I think that'd be a growing thing too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you'll have more and more changes all the time in the
Oh.
whole.
And our
whole
employees
system.
talk, they're gonna go,
Right.
hey,
Hey,
this is,
yeah.
this is, so hopefully it works out that way. But we'll have to make that decision here fairly shortly.
I don't wanna get up, I mean, that was part of our problem, so many things changed
Oh,
so
yeah,
fast at the end when
Right.
we had to make a decision.
and you're hoping you're making, a good
Right.
decision, so,
Has Bushy helped on that?
not a whole, well, some.
That's
So at the
not
meeting,
Yeah,
they
they were
helped
at the meeting.
Right.
at the meeting.
She was there, she did. I thought
But
she
again,
did.
the turnout was,
Because people just don't know.
They don't,
But I was glad the people that were there, because they asked some questions that if there had been 15 other people there, those would have been the questions that would have been asked, and so that let her give a chance to answer, that gave Kirk a chance to answer, they could talk back and forth, and it also gave people, I think, that were at the meeting, some people they could talk to. Augie, he was there, and Terry was there, so automatically people in the county employees have at least 2 people they can go to right there that have pretty quick access. I thought that was.
Can we hire using a consultant next year when the
I
insurance
don't think
comes
you
up
want
again?
that.
Now, let's move on from the budget to the levy. Have you all had a chance to, we need to pay attention?
When do we try to do that, Jeff?
Well, that's the same time the budget, it'll be
I
paid.
mean,
And
so-
do you wanna give us the meeting?
Oh, yeah, I know.
In the first part of November, we have whatever that first meeting date is, we will move the levy forward, and then we will final pass it later on in the month.
Okay,
Just
so on
like
the,
the
on
budget.
on the 7th of November,
Right,
we
that
have
sounds
the,
right. December.
November.
Oh, November, you're right.
November 7th, we have the regular, this deal,
Right,
right? And
Yeah,
then,
because the board
then we
meeting
have
is
the
the
county
9th.
board meeting on the 9th,
Right.
right? And then,
on the 30th, I
then we come
believe.
back, yeah, it's sometime in there, I can't
The
remember.
last
November,
Wednesday of the
30th.
month.
We have two
Yeah.
meetings in November.
Yes,
Okay.
County board member probably last, yeah,
I see.
okay. On the 30th, I don't have a time set for that one yet, has that already been set, probably has been?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
The board meeting?
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Regular time.
Same, regular time, regular meeting,
Okay.
Yep. yes,
On the 30th.
9
And
AM.
we don't have anything in between there, that, I guess that's what I was looking at the other day, for some reason, I thought we also had another meeting in between the 9th and the 30th, but not
unless
ringing,
we need one.
not ringing anybody's bells.
I don't-
For some reason, I thought we ended up having one time, okay.
We may have, I
Yeah, who
can't.
knows with both of these, we could have had that in the past, couldn't we?
Yeah.
With both this and budget.
Of course, the way Thanksgiving falls, it's a little weird this year,
Yeah.
so.
So we made a definite decision on the ambulance levy. We were talking about it.
Pretty much,
Okay.
yep.
I don't remember, it's 345, wasn't it? Okay. That's what I thought, I just wanted.
That's what's plugged in.
Okay. That's what I thought.
The 345
I
is?
did let, yeah, and I did let them know where we were headed. I said
I've
it hadn't been chiseled in stone, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, I talked to Eric a couple weeks ago about, he was satisfied. Of course, he didn't have a choice anyway,
Okay. Well, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
but second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned, gentlemen. Thank you.
Gosh, Augie, you didn't want a chance to